One like. One like, no viewers. Thank you, YouTube algorithm. Started 4 minutes early. People in. Hello, two people. How are you? I have no idea who you are, but thank you for joining me. Two likes, two people. Balance. That's what we like to see. A little bit of balance. Craigers, how are you, my friend? Hey, Jesse, good. How are you? 10 people in, 3 likes. Balance is off. 6 likes, sick. Angelisa, how are you? Delirium, how are you, my friend? I'm doing well, Craigers. Thank you for asking. Kathy Hayes, welcome to the show. Aerobic, what's up? Here I am. What are your 2 other wishes? Huh. Well, one actually came true. The snow finally stopped in upstate New York. This is the first Saturday in 3 weeks that we've not had snow. So thanks, Delirium. Appreciate that. Howdy from Texas. Poppy from Sweden. How are you? Yeah, I'm super happy, Ermic. Trust that. I do have some amazing lot lizard stories tonight, and I did something very different. Very different. I gave Earl the trucker his own story. So Earl the trucker has his own story to himself. I figured since Earl's always the one that's getting it. Lake 17, how are you? Christy Strom, how are you? I know you do, Aramic. DB Mac, how are you? Jesse B, how are you? Vic Lion, how are you? Aramic, you're gonna see a very big change. I'm gonna well, everyone's gonna see the change, but within the next couple of weeks, this studio has not been like dusted in 3 years. So behind my computer is a wall of dust, and I'm gonna take everything out of this room. I'm going to start hanging Aramic's pictures in here and just do a whole new revamp on the studio upstairs so we have a whole new kind of look for everything. What's going on, Steve-O? Frank Morris, how are you, my friend? Troy, Justin Russell. I'm pretty excited, Aramic. And I gotta thank you for all of those great masterpieces. Sean B. Well, 11B, but what's up, buddy? How are you? Mammy J. Hall is in the house with us. Motorboat. Thank you, Motorboat. Appreciate that. Dude, what's going on, Jim Baker? RV Jackpot, how are you? So, listen to this fucked up comment. It like irked me. So we hit 95,000 subs yesterday. And right now we're only 4,925 subs away from getting the play button. Which when I get it, it's going right here. So I'm trying to do something different with the thumbnails. I'm trying to make them a little better. Just to kind of spice it up a little. I'm never going to change the stories. Stories are always going to be true. This guy comments saying, "What's up with the AI generated thumbnails? Everybody that's in my kind of knows they're not real pictures." And I'm like, dude, I never said they were real pictures. But if you have a picture of a fucking park ranger shooting at a Dogman, please send it to me and I will use it. It just made no sense. Like, I'm just trying to spice it up and make it like I will never change the experiences. They will always be real. But if I can put like a display up of something different, sure. That's what I'm saying, guys. That's what I'm saying. MJ Bates, how are you? Nicholas Carroll, Red Cardinal, Johnny Ohm, Samar Osborne, Wesley September, Sasquatch and Grandma. COVID denier. No, I am not a flat earther yet. What kind of drugs do you do to be a flat earther? There's been flat earthers that are getting proved wrong right now. I'm just teasing you. Thank you, Wiley. Appreciate you. Nick Hendricks, how are you? Arabic, thank you so much, brother. Tyler 420, what's going on, my friend? How are you? It could be flat. I don't know. I've never been above anywhere to where I could see it. So until I go up into the air and see it, I'm going to go with the globe. What's up, IE Native? But if I go up someday in a hot air balloon that makes it pass wherever, that's what I want to do. I want to do it in a hot air balloon. If I'm going balls, I'm going balls to the wall in a fucking hot air balloon. Break the atmosphere. $175 Hydro. Brenda W, how are you? Kevin Stover. Did I miss anybody? I don't want to miss anybody. I don't like missing people. Fucking Glowkey. That's an interesting name. How are you? Marmar. Randy Man. Black Pilled. Jeb Smith. Nikola Tesla. How are you, buddy? Josh the Boss 1. What's going on? Thank you, Hydro. Blue-Eyed Blonde 72. Hello. SG. Nitsua. I hope I said your name right. Nitsua. Thank you very much, and welcome to the show tonight. George Coker. What's up? Moondogs, how are you? From the height of a hot air balloon, I don't know. But if I break the atmosphere, Jim Baker, I'm saying, was it Red Bull? Didn't Red Bull break the atmosphere? I think they did. I think they went into outer space with a hot air balloon. I thought they did. They didn't? Okay. They went really high, though. I know that. Thanks, Kevin Silver. Claire Harris. I do, Troy. So, like I said, they were in inner space. Okay. My last live, I have to say goodbye to everybody, even if it's hard not to watch anymore. Why, SG? Did I do something wrong? No shit. I didn't know that. Jack White sent a hot air balloon playing his record into space. No shit. That's awesome. Well, I hope you come back. What are you smoking? I smoke a Juul. Mr. Rollins, how are you? I must not have seen you. I'm sorry. Adam Condon, how are you, buddy? Jeff, how are you, my friend? Southside, Robin, what's up? How are you? Boondock Mojo. Jeff, did you get this deep freeze? Dude, did we get the deep freeze? Holy shit. It's not snowing, but it is so cold out that the snowbank in front of my house that is like 8 feet fucking tall is a solid chunk of ice. And I would love to watch a car just smash through it. But look at this shit. It is so cold outside. Brr, damn. It's like touching my leg. Ugh. Ugh. So cold. I'm just glad it finally stopped snowing. Yeah, I don't buy that video, those videos. It's kind of funny that when people go in the woods and they get a video every time they go in the woods, or a sighting every time, that's kind of strange. Even Scott Carpenter never did that. And Scott Carpenter has one of the best caught videos I've ever seen. I don't know. It was minus 30 last week. We got minus 7 up here. We got minus 7. And like when you walk outside, it is fucking cold. Susan of New Jersey. Yes, I've got plenty. Actually, I did do an upload, Jeff, on the Great Dismal Swamp. There's a lot of stuff in North Carolina. Actually, Brenda Hamilton was killed in North Carolina by a Dogman, I believe, 100%. Like, excuse me, whatever blasted through the woods when I was sitting there, I only caught the ass end of it as I was fucking running for my life down that mountain. But I had, like, you guys could hear it. Portals are real 100%, 100%. Whatever that was that day, I don't know, like where Tom Mezek disappeared. That I wish instead of the noise, I caught more of what it was. But when the woods blew up like that, it was only two things on my mind: run and run. Sonia, how are you? Are you Jeff? Are you right in Beaumont or Beaumont? Beaumont. I think it's Beaumont. I know I used to say it wrong, and a lot of people would get mad at me. How are you tonight, Sonia? Savage Lunatic, how are you, my friend? I always trust your instincts. 100% SG. Arthur Ostrander. Don't drink, COVID. Don't drink, don't do drugs. Sorry. Only thing I do is nicotine and caffeine. Wiley, I had actually I had the Caltech 12 gauge with me, the KS7 with me that day. What's the best part? You can drop her off anywhere. We got a lot of subjects for tonight. Where is Jane? I didn't see Jane pop in. How did I miss Jane? Where the fuck is she? Jane, say hi to me. I can't see you. Is Jane here? I haven't seen her yet. Someone said, hi, Jane. Let me see if she messaged me. I messaged her on Valentine's Day. Let me see. I don't get notifications on Messenger because I fucking hate Messenger. Hey, Jeff. She's not going to be here. What? Oh, her best friend fell. Okay. I'm glad it wasn't her. We were just talking about you, and I said, let's check Messenger. I'm glad that you're okay. I'm sorry for your friend. Boop. All right. So I've had quite the shitty week. I broke 2 phones this week and my camera. Just a shit week for me. But the snow has stopped. Gastonia, North Carolina. I don't know. That's a Bigfoot. Could have been a Bigfoot. Best bully, how are you? I have some Nephilim experiences for tonight too, guys. Brian Mons, how are you? Blue Days, how are you? Ever seen a Giant of Kandahar? No, I haven't seen it. But I talked to the guy that actually brought it to everyone's attention. I am so sick of snow as well. I fucking hate snow. Never seen a Bigfoot. Only had a Dogman experience, and I hope I never have one again. I did get that, Boondock. I messaged you back saying thank you. You didn't get that? I'm telling you, Gmail hates me. Ed Bot, how are you? Danny Sanders. It is better than ice. I was a little scared because when the snow colored National Guard's best one is when the snow stopped last week, like Sunday it stopped after the live stream. I went out after last week's live stream and snow blowed from 2:30 to like 4. And then all of a sudden it started raining and it was cold. So I was watching the ice build up on the wires and stuff. And I'm like, and then we had wind that was like 45 miles an hour wind. So it was just like a freezing, it was terrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope we don't lose power. I hope we don't lose power. And we didn't, but it was still bullshit. All right, we're going to start tonight off with a paranormal experience. Lucas Williams, how are you? Alter Ego, Kevin. Larry Lindman, thank you so much. What do you think of it? What do you think the cryptid community can do to encourage more people to come forward? Also, have you seen any aha moments that made someone go from a non-believer to a believer? Thank you. Larry Lindman with the great freaking questions, just like last week. I actually brought your question up in on Monday's video, so thank you. I think what is happening right now is key. A long time ago, like when I started this channel 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. 2018 is when I started, so 7 years ago. So when I started the channel, YouTube was a fucking shit show for cryptid people. Every channel was attacking every channel. Every researcher was attacking every researcher. If you didn't agree with someone else, you were a piece of shit or you didn't know anything. And I think right now what's going on is there's more of an acceptance, more of an open mind to all of this and what's going on. Because I think more people are talking and more people are having those aha moments. Like someone talks about something that they had happen and someone had that same experience, but didn't really think about cryptid or something while in the woods, you know? And they're like, whoa, that maybe I had a Bigfoot experience, or maybe that's what I saw that day. So maybe. Love that love. How are you? Steven, what's going on, my friend? John Rodriguez. All right. So if I miss anyone, I am sorry. I'm going to start today's live stream with a paranormal experience. Being the only girl in the family at the time, I had a bedroom to myself. I was just a teen in junior high, and the interest in Arabic. Thank you so much, my brother. Appreciate you. Being the only girl in the family at the time, I had a bedroom all to myself. I was just a teen in junior high and was interested in witchcraft. I guess I was watching too much Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something. I was spoiled with a computer and a TV in my room. Back in the day, kids having a computer in their own bedroom was not very common. I would go online trying to find spells that I could do and stumbled across this one website that had a Ouija board online. I'd heard stories of how the board is the devil's game. I figured since it was online, it wasn't the same. The website had a player or a chant that I remember I had to say to have God protect me from whatever may happen. I asked a simple question, is anyone here? I thought, okay, now what is supposed to happen? Is the mouse supposed to move around? How do I get an answer? It just came to a point where I thought it was ridiculous and shut the computer off. A couple of nights later, I noticed that my teddy bear is missing from my bed. I've always slept with the bear because it brought comfort, like someone was always with me. I bent down to pick it up, and staring at me was a tall red man with bright white eyes standing halfway through my door. I looked at him and froze, and he smiled, not moving. I left the bear and pulled the blankets over my head and trembled. I was terrified that the thing would come over and just rip the blankets off of me. I was too scared to sleep, so I waited until morning when I could see some sort of light in my bedroom. I was eating breakfast at the table with my two younger brothers and my dad, and I told them what I saw. My dad overhears me and goes, "Oh, don't worry, that was me." I didn't say a thing because I didn't want to freak him out if he couldn't explain it. But how could it be him if I locked the door? I am the only one who has keys to my door. Like I said, I'm spoiled. I changed the locks myself and had both the keys that came with the doorknob. I lock the door every night. I hate the feeling of anyone that can just burst into my room in the middle of the night. That house terrified me. Late at night, I could hear creaks and banging noises. I'm now 33 and no longer live in that house, obviously. I truly can't explain what I saw that night. My eyes don't play tricks on me when I am up, even if I'm going to the washroom at 2 or 5 in the morning. I have told this experience to my friends' coworkers, but they laugh at me like I'm messing around. It's gotten to the point where I'd rather not say anything at all because of all the non-believers. All right, an actual police report. I will, Scott. Thank you for recommending a new book to me. I appreciate that. Arabic, are you leaving? You're not leaving tonight, are you? Arabic, Claire, sorry, I miss you. I don't know choice. I did. Why are you saying best wishes all? No, okay. I just saw the best wishes all. SDL, how are you? Alan Howell, how are you, my friend? I'm on the men now. Bad motorcycle crash in Portugal. Oh, shit. Best bully, I'm glad that you're on the mend, and thank you for hanging out with us. Tony Jones, I have a samurai sword next to my bed. That's great. What's up, Black Queen Jax? How are you? I appreciate that. What's up, Sonny the Wandering Gypsy? This is another paranormal, but this is an actual a Westminster, Maryland police report. Westminster, Maryland. In the early morning hours of May 28, 2016, approximately 2:45 a.m., two Westminster City police officers were on duty and happened to be standing in a parking lot across from White's Bicycle Shop on West Main Street. They both saw something move inside of the bicycle shop across the street. What they saw was a tall, slender black figure that was approximately 6 feet in height. They observed the figure moving quickly from right to left toward the coin shop that is housed next door. There is an open doorway between both shops. Both officers questioned if each had seen movement inside of the bike shop. Agreeing on what they saw, the officers felt they had seen an intruder inside of the bicycle shop, as it had been robbed before. And they called for backup, as well as asking for after-hour night reference to call the shop. At this point, both officers moved to a more shadowed part of the parking lot to await their backup, and so as not to give away their presence to a potential intruder in the bicycle shop. It was at this point that one of the officers saw what appeared to be a reflection of what appeared to be a male face with no body in the glass of the coin shop next door. This was the direction that the shadow figure had moved toward. Once their backup had arrived on scene and took up position behind the building that housed the bicycle/coin shops, one of the officers called the night reference that they were given, which happened to be the owner of the shop. The officer asked the owner if anyone was supposed to be in the shop at night. The owner indicated that his son was there in the apartment in the back of the shop. Thinking that's what they had seen was the owner's son, the officers made contact with him to question him. However, upon seeing the owner's son, his physical appearance was much different than the shadow that they had witnessed earlier. The officers told the owner's son what they had seen and asked if there was anyone else present. The owner's son told the officers that he was the only one there and gave the officers permission to search the shop. Finding no one inside of the shop and no signs of any forced entry, the officers questioned the owner's son further, asking if there had been any odd occurrences in the shop. The owner's son told the officers that the building, the bicycle/coin shop, was originally built back in the 1800s. The son knew of a female that had committed suicide in the building by hanging herself a few years back. However, the figure that the officers saw appeared to be male. The owner's son also mentioned that there were apartments above the shop and that prior tenants had reported seeing strange shadowy figures in the past. It is important to note that the apartments above the bicycle shop are in a separate part of the building, and there is no direct access for the apartments to the bicycle shop. Entrance to and from these apartments are in the rear of the building. Another thing the officers noted is a part of the bicycle shop security system includes motion sensors, which will turn on additional lighting when activated. The two officers who witnessed the shadowy figure both say that none of the bicycle shop security measures were activated, yet they both saw this shadowy figure cast a shadow against the night lighting that was inside the shop at the time. Tony Jones, I love the Kirkery. I have a wicked nice Kirkery. They're a great knife. Blue Days. Bigfoot has been known to kill for fun as well. Tim Coonbo Baker has a file of attacks at random that Bigfoot have done and actually killed or maimed animals and humans. Storm in Alaska, how are you? Any news on Minnesota guy who was arrested in 2016 after his friend was abducted? No. Tim Baker, Coonbo. He's a researcher. He's the only person that I honestly would consider an expert, to be honest with you. He's been researching for nearly 60 years, worked with NASA. He's a man of science. Very, very nice guy. Never seen a skinwalker. I've only seen a Dogman and paranormal stuff. Like when I went to the Conjuring house, I've caught in some weird shit there. But cryptid-wise, the only thing I've ever seen was a Dogman. I do believe I have Black-Eyed Kids stories in here. Robert Sharp did raise a Dogman. He is the man that raised Rascal. Let's see where I will see if I have that and can find it for you. Not there. Oh, here's a quick black-eyed kid story for us. Here's a quickie. Black-eyed kids, Delaware, 2015. I was about 6 and I was on a field trip. I forget where. I want to say the zoo. When we arrived, we were at the hub area. I was with my friend James and we were exploring the area and checking stuff out. I saw a disabled kid in a wheelchair moaning and stuff. And being dumb kids, we found this amusing. So we were sneaking up on him to check him out. After I was behind him, hiding behind a pillar, I saw his head turn around. Memories kind of blur on this, but I remember he had pitch black eyes. And then he turned back around. I told my friend James what I had seen. And after this, my memory of the whole story goes blank. I don't remember being scared. For some reason, as a kid, I thought it was normal. Told you it was quickie. Oh, quickie. All right, I'll save this long one for later tonight. All right, so last week I had done a, I don't know if you guys remember, there was the experience that I had found in an old newspaper. This is from Sweden, actually. Is my computer buffering on you guys? My camera feels like it's buffering. Is it good? No? It looks like it's buffering on my end. I'm sorry if it is. I apologize. All right, good. All right. So last week I had this Sweden experience that I shared that I had gotten out of like an old newsprint or whatever. Same as this one. This one is just in the Soviet Union, I believe. So I'm probably going to fuck a lot of the words up. A young man named Eldar from a village of Nechechevan, a student at the Azerbaijan Polytechnical Institute, was on his way to his aunt's house after having visited some friends. At this time, the city of Baku was occupied by Soviet military troops as a result of riots and conflicts between the Armenians and the Azerbaijani. And it was after curfew hours, everyone was locked in their home. Walking next to an old Universal department store, Eldar noticed a faint light shining from the basement area. He suddenly noticed movement inside the basement and saw someone's head appear and call out, "Hey boy, help me get out of here." The stranger spoke to Eldar in pure Azerbaijani language. When Eldar approached the stranger, he noticed that the man was unusual in appearance and appeared unnaturally aged. The stranger was holding a strange flashlight in one hand and was desperately trying to get out of the basement. From outside of the basement, a large black suitcase like a diplomatic pouch was visible on the ground nearby. Eldar stretched his hands and helped the aged man crawl out of the basement and close the window. At this point, Eldar realized that the man was holding a strange globe-shaped device which emanated light, which penetrated through the man's hand, lighting up his tendons, veins, and muscles. The witness became numb with fear after seeing this and almost decided to run away to his home. But the elderly stranger asked Eldar to accompany him across the underground crossing located under the boulevard. Eldar's feeling of fear increased as the stranger appeared to read his thoughts and began asking him numerous questions. The stranger spoke in his very pure language, too pure in nature sounding like a literature variant, which increased the boy's unease and suspicion. The stranger was about 180 centimeters in height, with a normal-sized head and dressed in quite common clothing. Suddenly, he said unexpectedly, "Son, come with me. You will see things you have never seen before." With those words, the strange man took a small oblong-shaped object from the black suitcase, a device which nowadays would resemble a portable pocket computer. He then said to the astounded Eldar, "If I press these two buttons, we will appear in my world, and you will not regret it. Think about my proposition. It can change your life completely." Confused thoughts quickly began circulating in his head, and he then glanced at the computer-like device that the stranger was holding. He opened the suitcase, which inside he could see a number of tubes and unknown instruments. As the stranger stared coldly at him, Eldar decided to end the episode without saying a word, taking off in a sprint toward his home, located several meters away. But once he arrived at the house, a sudden sense of curiosity made him return, despite the sense of fear and worry presented to him, but somehow he overcame that. However, once back to the underground crossing, the stranger had vanished. Back home, Eldar was unable to sleep for a long time. The witness was to have further contact with the same entity in May of 92. This was a newspaper from Zor Ismail Zadu in Baku in 1994. I like it when I find shit like that. It makes me excited because I'm like, ooh, look at this. Is Neck here? Chronicle of Cryptids. My weekend is going well now that I'm on the live stream with you guys. I had a rather odd encounter with a humanoid creature this past summer, and I haven't been able to come up with any rational answer as to what I saw. I live in Anoka County, Minnesota. I was biking home from work. I work the closing shift at my local Walgreens, so I get off work at around 10:30 p.m. I live only 30 minutes away by bike from my job, but most of the way home is by a heavily forested trail, which does not have many streetlights, so it's always pitch black when I'm going home. Well, about 5 minutes into my bike ride going home, I hit the beginning of where the streetlights end and darkness began. And like I always do, I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight option so I could illuminate my way home. Well, only a few seconds after I turned it on, I tilted it up more and froze because I saw a tall, skinny, pale-skinned figure for a brief second before it fell onto all fours and, like the wind, was gone into the woods. Oh! Shortly after, I started to pedal as fast as I could because I had no clue what it was I had seen, when I heard a low screech that whatever it was keeping pace with me, hidden in the woods out of sight. I managed to get out of the area very quickly and didn't see or hear anything after I left the heavily wooded area. But a while later on, I caught the scent of what literally smelled like fresh blueberry pancakes or waffles, as if someone was standing out in the field with a hot plate and a pan of blueberry waffles or pancakes, which did not make sense to me because there are no buildings in this area. So I figured perhaps whatever it was that I had seen previously was using scents to try and draw me into the woods. Now, I do know a few areas around that trail are supposed to be haunted, There is a diner theater that is not too far from it, a supposed haunted water tower in the area as well, and a couple of other places, but I still, no matter what I think of, can rationalize or debunk what I saw. It couldn't be a deer because I have talked to people in the area and no one has ever seen a deer in this area. It was standing on its hind legs, just like a humanoid, and then it dropped onto all four and ran as fast as could be into the woods. It couldn't have been any other wildlife because the only wildlife I've ever spotted in this area are birds and squirrels. But I figured I would share my experience to see if anyone else has a rational explanation. Well, sounds to me like you saw a crawler. And that's why I went, ugh. Because I fucking hate crawlers. Boosafus, how are you? Denise Counts, how are you? I hope I didn't miss it. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I really do. Crawlers are the worst. Crawlers are the worst. What's up, Destroyer of Demons? How are you? I said hi to you, Danny. Guido Strummer. How are you? I hope I pronounced your first name right. Glad I caught the show. I'm glad you did too. Is it time, DB Mac? Is it time to entertain? Tigger is. Oh, I gotta tell you a joke or a fucking. I'll tell you the story first. So I told you about Tigger meeting Apollo, my daughter's kitten, right? So the first time Apollo and Tigger met, Apollo bapped Tigger in his balls. Tigger is 4 times the size of this poor kitten, and Tigger is petrified of him. So today, Tigger and Apollo are out, and they're like, Tigger just wants to be friends. Tigger wants to cuddle with this kitten, and Apollo is a kitten, so he's like all over. Tigger wants to show off because he's huge, and he's like, look what I can do. He jumps up onto his cat tree, right? As poor Tig is jumping up onto his tree, he gets to like the 3rd fucking railing, and he's hanging, and Apollo jumps on him and goes bop right in his ass. I felt so bad for Big Tig. It was terrible. Stromer. Yeah, I knew Stromer was a German name. Guido. All right, cool. I'm glad I said it right. It was so bad. I felt so bad for Tigger. Tigger's mom actually beat up a pit bull the day Tigger was born. Because Richard Minnick, thank you so much. Because a pit bull was walking by and Tigger's mom was on the steps, like on the upstairs steps, ran down the steps and jumped on this dog. So imagine seeing a Maine Coon cat beat up a pit bull. $20. Say $20. Ah. We'll break out the new one. I've not blown this one yet, so I have no idea. I have no idea. It's a little harder to blow. This one's way better. That was a cop. Play a little cruising down the street in Mod 6. Whoa. Neighborhood loves me. Ugh. Dude, the new shofar, I gotta practice with it. It's a little bigger than the other one. Like, quite the big difference in this one's more girthy. This one looks like a fucking the Dune sandworm, kind of. Oh, this one's fucking weird. All right, here we go. This one's really creepy. Aramic, thank you so much, brother. Aramic, you are a fucking gifting membership machine. Tim Baker, he says that yes, the cop is sitting down the road from my house. He does say to be careful when blowing it. He doesn't recommend doing it because he had some crazy shit happen. I've had some weird shit happen where Tom Mezek disappeared, which is a 411 case that happened in the Adirondacks where I live. But I mean, I don't know. Anyway, my friend Katie and I took her truck to a cab off road hang on. My friend Katie and I took her truck with a cab off road to camp at Pyramid Lake, Nevada. We slept in the back of her truck cab, the kind with the slide windows. With a half moon overhead on the northwest side of the lake, I fell asleep fast and had the most realistic nightmare in my life. This is what happened. There I was in the back of the truck. The moon had shifted to the window I was sleeping by, and I was awakened in the dream by a rustling in the brush. Somehow the tailgate was down and the cab was open. A man appeared at the foot of the tailgate. His hair was matted and dreadlocked. He was clothed in thick scraps of fur, almost like a robe. He had a thick beard and was totally unshaven. He was hunched over and dark with filth. His eyes bulged with madness. I was paralyzed in fear. He reached under his fur and pulled out a huge, dirty hunting knife. He started to furiously stab my feet and lower legs. That's when my friend shook me awake. I was screaming in my sleep. I was so relieved. It was a nightmare. I looked out the window by the side of my bed, and the moon was in the same exact location as in my dream. I was filled with a sense that we were not alone and convinced my friend to stay up until sunrise with me. It was such a surreal experience. I felt I was being visited by this crazy madman who lived in the caves of the desert 100 or more years ago. The feeling of being watched stayed with me on this trip until we left. Do you think I dreamt of an attack in the past? Is it possible that a spirit of the attacker could still be in the vicinity? I have never repeated the dream, so I believe being at that location may have stirred up the past. Anushka, how are you? Alan Howell, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not sure of what to think about that case. I would say if she had done some research, you know what? That's an interesting thing, and I don't know why I didn't do this before the live stream. Hang on. Has there ever been any attacks by a person in Pyramid Lake, Nevada? Holy shit. Oh my God, right? So that account happened in Pyramid Lake, Nevada, right? There's a thing called the battle at Pyramid Lake, an uneasy peace secured. So in 1860, a major battle between Native Americans and early settlers in Utah Territory, Nevada, took place along the Truckee River just south of Pyramid Lake after two young Native American maidens were abducted and hurt by several white men. Native warriors responded by rescuing the girls and killing the perpetrators. To thwart a perceived rebellion and massacre, residents from nearby community of Carson City and Truckee rallied a group of 105 men who vowed to take the law into their own hands and attack the Native Americans. It was a rash decision and a fatal miscalculation. The vigilantes, poorly equipped and badly organized, were lured into a trap by the Native Americans who surrounded the bewildered men, and the rout began. As the warriors began shooting bullets and arrows at the outnumbered and outgunned regiment, the pioneers beat the fast retreat to a small grove of cottonwood trees lining the Truckee River. But instead of finding safety in the brush, the woods were swarmed with more warriors. What began as an ordinary retreat became a wild, panic-stricken stampede. So this took place in 1860, right? In Pyramid Lake, where this girl was camping. She should have did the research, because think of what this guy looked like, right? He had a big beard, he had long matted hair, he had a fur-like jacket that was made of scrapped fur, right? And an old hunting knife. And he was dirty. So there weren't showers back then and shit, especially in the Utah, Nevada territories. Maybe that's what she saw, was something like that. Pyramid Lake, yes. What's up, Sean McCabe? How are you? Dude, Patrice, that's crazy. But it was a dream that he dreamed of, or she dreamed of, SDL. Sounds like it to me, though. That sounds like some reasonable shit right there. Coincidence? I think not. I think not, my friends. The worst dream I've ever had. The worst dream I've ever had was probably I couldn't find my daughters one time. I know it sounds stupid, but I remember not being able to find them. And for some reason, I was scouring my town where I live to try and find them. Cornwall. I know where Cornwall is. No one be me too. So Cornwall, is that right across the border, right? Like the Hogansburg border is right. Am I mistaken, or am I? There's a mall in Cornwall too. If I'm not mistaken, it's just north of me. Well, thank you. No one be me too. Am I talking about the right Cornwall? I was stressed after that dream. I was, Patrice. Yes, I fucking know right where that is. I've been to Cornwall plenty of times. My cousin has dual citizenship there because he was born in Hogansburg. That's awesome. Wow. I love shit like that. I love when that shit happens, guys. I love it. Well, thank you, Lisa Smith. No shit. That's great. What did you say, 4,000? Alien Dog, how are you? Why is 4,000 apologizing? Sorry I said anything. Well, hi, 4,000. I didn't say hi to you. Hit the like button. Only 150, not 2. Oh, yeah. Thank you, 4,000. Jim Bob. Once again, I'm sorry if I missed anybody. Diamond Actual. I just did a short but sweet Black Eyed Kids one. Multiple elves. I was born and raised in North New Jersey. My boyfriend and close friends love to explore mysterious locations throughout the state. One day I found an exciting area. It's located in Trenton, New Jersey. It's an abandoned child orphanage, and it was also used to operate on the insane asylum. It was also an operating insane asylum at one point. It was late at night, maybe 10 p.m. We were following the GPS to the location and hoping not to run into the police or have to deal with being run off. We wanted to get inside the buildings. It was known when open as the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. As we drove past the side of the actual orphanage, my mind was not on finding cryptids or any creatures, but as we were scoping out the place to see if there were security, suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, we saw this dark, blacker than black, what we can only describe as canine body shape. But when I saw this thing in the middle of jumping out of the view next to the side of the road, all I was able to fully see was the lower half of this thing from mid-torso to tail. As it leapt out of my sight, it scared the shit out of me. What stuck out in my mind was the tail. This thing had a tail like a fox. It was bushy and large. New Jersey, we don't have fox, certainly not black ones. This animal was larger than the most massive dog and much larger than a coyote. Like I said, I was not out this evening with this in mind. I was out for a ghost hunt. I turned to my boyfriend who was driving and asked if he had seen what I had seen. He said he didn't, which made no sense because this thing was on my side as well of the car, and it was dark. I never saw its face or upper half. It literally leapt from the side of the road into the brush next to the building. It was on all fours, but New Jersey do not have wolves, nor fox, or anything that fits. I Googled all native animals to New Jersey, and nothing was like what I saw. If I witnessed this thing in another more rural state, I would be more open-minded. But New Jersey doesn't have native animals with this description. I've never seen a Dogman or Bigfoot, but I have no doubt they exist. I wonder sometimes if that was what I seen, some kind of Dogman or canine-like creature. I know I wasn't seeing things, and it was blacker than the blackest night. It scared the bejesuses out of me. This is in Trenton, New Jersey, 10 or 11 p.m. back in 2019. What time is it? Oh, is it time? Is it time? Gravity Cheeseburger. Wow, long time no see. How have you been? How have you fucking been, Gravity Cheeseburger? It gave me anxiety. Imagine, Scott, when I interviewed this guy, I'm petrified of caves. I've only went caving like a couple times in my life, and I've hated it both times. So when I'm interviewing this guy, I'm like having a stroke. All right. It is time for a lot lizard. Now, for those of you who are new, the new lot lizard or the lot lizard experiences are the only fictional stories told on my channel. But they're funny because lot lizards are the most dangerous cryptid known to man. Known to man. Here we go. Okay, buckle up, buttercups, because this ain't your grandma's bedtime story. This is about Whoopi Dingleberry, a legend whispered in the hushed tones of truck stops in Texarkana to Tallahassee. Whoopi wasn't known for her charm or her dental hygiene, but for her unique approach to the oldest profession. Whoopi, bless her heart and hide her teeth, possessed a set of chompers that could gnaw through rebar. They were legendary, capable of cracking walnuts in her cheeks and occasionally leaving a mark on the unsuspecting trucker. But that wasn't even half of it. Her weapon of choice, the thing that truly set her apart, was a gargantuan, disturbingly realistic rubber walrus penis. It was legendary, possibly cursed, and definitely bigger than your average dachshund. Why a walrus penis? Nobody knew. Some said she had won it in a backroom poker game. Others claimed it was a gift from a lovesick marine biologist. Whoopi herself just cackled, a sound like rocks tumbling down a hill, and said, "It's all about presentation, darling." And presentation it was. Now, Whoopi was not your typical highway hooker. She didn't just stand by the side of I-95 batting her eyelashes, which, truth be told, were more like spider legs. No, Whoopi was an artist. Her routine went something like this. First, she'd lurk in the shadows of the truck stop, her neon pink leopard print leggings practically vibrating with anticipation. She'd wait for a particularly burly, balding trucker to climb out of his rig, weary from the long haul. Then she'd unleash her signature move, the walrus waltz. Picture this, the trucker stretching and groaning, reaching for his thermos of lukewarm coffee. Suddenly, a figure bursts from the darkness, silhouetted by the flickering fluorescent lights of the gas station. Whoopi Dingleberry, teeth gleaming, wielding a mighty rubber walrus penis like a bizarre fleshy baton. She let out a banshee wail that could make milk curdle, then charged, swinging the appendage with surprising agility. The truckers naturally would scream. Some would drop their coffee thermos. Others would trip over their own feet. A few, the truly unlucky ones, would get a glancing blow from the unholy artifact. "Get back, you crazy woman," they'd yell, scrambling for safety. Whoopi's teeth bared, would just laugh and kept coming, chanting, "Whoopi's here to snuggle." Now, most truckers, seasoned veterans of the road, knew the drill. You either ran or hid, or you'd offer her some lukewarm beer and a stale donut. The beer and donut were usually enough to appease her, sending her off to search for another victim. But Whoopi's ultimate goal wasn't just a quick scare and a sugary snack. Oh no, Whoopi dreamed of sleeping in the comfy confines of the trucker's cab. She craved the plush sheets, the air conditioning, and the sweet, sweet smell of diesel fumes and truckers' farts. She tried everything. Seduction, failed miserably. Bribery, truckers are surprisingly immune to the charms of the rubber penis. Even reverse psychology. Don't worry, I wouldn't dream of sleeping in your cab. It's probably full of spiders. Nothing worked. One night, after a particularly unsuccessful walrus waltz that ended with her tripping over her own discarded tire and face planted into a pile of gravel, Whoopi sat defeated, nursing a bruised ego and a gravel-rashed cheek. She looked at the rubber walrus penis laying forlorn beside her. "What am I doing wrong?" she mumbled to herself. That's when inspiration struck. She grinned, a truly terrifying sight that could scare the chrome off a Peterbilt. The next morning, a trucker named Earl woke up to a strange sound coming from his cab. A rhythmic thumping, like someone trying to break in with something large and rubbery. He peeked through the curtains. There was Whoopi, standing on the hood of his truck, furiously polishing the windshield with that rubber walrus penis. She even dressed it up a little with a little trucker hat and a miniature CB radio. Earl just sighed and unlocked the door and yelled, all right, you win. Just promise you won't use that thing on my dashboard. Whoopi shrieked with delight, scrambled inside, promptly fell asleep on the passenger seat, snoring louder than a runaway 18-wheeler. And so, Whoopi Dingleberry, the toothy terror of truck stops, finally achieved her dream. She spent the next few nights riding shotgun with Earl, regaling him with the outlandish stories, most of them probably true, and keeping the windows open, even in the freezing temperatures. Earl, surprisingly, didn't mind at all much. He learned to appreciate Whoopi's unique brand of companionship. Besides, he figured who was going to mess with a trucker who traveled with a woman wielding a giant rubber walrus penis? He's practically untouchable. The legend of Whoopi Dingleberry continued to grow, a bizarre and unsettling folktale whispered around greasy spoons and late-night gas stations. A reminder that even in the grimmest corners of the American landscape, there's always room for a little bit of weirdness, a whole lot of teeth, and a truly terrifying rubber walrus penis. And that, my friends, is the gospel truth. Thank you, Jim Bob. A lot lizard safari. My dad is doing well, Claire. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Melanie, how are you? Yeah, that was probably one of my better ones. But I literally have Earl having his own story tonight. And Earl always gets the shit end of the stick. Well, not tonight. Not tonight, my friends. Earl is... I decided to share my experience. At the time, we lived in Noble County, Oklahoma. I was 15. I'm 45 now, so it was a long time ago. I'd been asleep. I woke up feeling like my mouth was as dry as sandpaper. I went to the bathroom for some water, and when I came out, I was facing my bedroom's west window. We lived on 16 acres, and the only space around the house we kept mowed. Everything else grew wild. It was around 2 or 3 in the morning. The first thing I saw was these red reflective eyes, not brilliant like red light shining, more muted like a reflection, only there wasn't anything on that side of the house. I went to the window to see what could be out there, and that's when I saw it, standing perfectly still where the yard edge met the tall brush. Standing slightly sideways, I could see the front arm hanging down, staring directly at me, staring at my eyes. It did not look like a deer standing on its back legs. We always saw deer around our property. This was not that. This was something else. I remember the fear that went through me, overwhelming and hard to breathe because it was watching me. This was pre-internet, so I had never heard of things like Skinwalker, Dogman, but I knew what demonic meant, and this thing was definitely that. I could see its breath because it was cold outside that night, so there were clouds of condensation as it exhaled. Other than breathing, it didn't move for a solid 5 minutes. I remember stepping off to the side of the window, hoping to still see it, but it does not see me. It did not move and continued to stare at my window. After a bit, it turned and walked into the tall brush. It did walk like a man, not like a deer standing on its hind legs. It had a human-like form. I was shaking from fear and remember going to sleep in my older brother's room. He, of course, was annoyed with me that next morning and asked why I was in his room. I told him what I saw and described it at detail. After getting ready for school, we went outside to that side of the house. We could see a path where the creature took away from the house. Just some brush that was pushed down as if someone or something walked through the tall grass that had not been touched in a long time. The brush was too tall and too thick to see any footprints. The brush was about my head height, so 6 feet. This thing stood a good 2 feet taller than that because I could see its chest and head as it walked away. I asked my brother if he remembered this night, and he said he remembers it vividly. I've never seen this creature since. I've seen other odd things, but never anything like this. Alien Dog, I specifically said the only stories that are fiction on this channel are the lot lizard stories. I specifically said right before I read the lot lizard story. That's why I said it. Melanie, send me an email. I used to cowboy camp, but now I lock my RV door. I haven't seen any paranormal or cryptid, but I am convinced. Hell yeah, speak of life, you should always be safe. If anyone needs to send me an email, my email address is under Strom Zombie. Slithers me, Arabic, what the fuck? And above Wiley Metz. What cryptid do I think is the scariest? Crawlers and feral humans are something that I never want to see. I don't know. They all have their terrifying. My experience that I had that night with my friends was by far the scariest thing that ever happened to me. But I don't ever want to see a crawler or a feral human. For some reason, they are the most scariest to me. That's all right, buddy. I just wanted to make sure. I purposely say it because I know that some people might pop in and be like, hey, why is he? That's why the lot lizard stories just came up as a joke. I figured when I started the live stream, I wanted to do something completely original. Kitty Wolfrus, thank you so much. I wanted to do something completely original. So I wanted to have fun with it too, you know. I didn't want to be like all the other channels out there that just narrate encounters or bellyache about bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, there's no room for bellyaching. There's no room for rumors, bullshit. It's just about fun and experiences. That's it. All right, I do have a black-eyed kid story for you, though. In the summer of 2005, Lakeisha, then 7, and her family, mom, father, 2 older sisters, had just moved to a new town, undisclosed, in British Columbia, Canada. The location they moved to was a group of townhouses on a cul-de-sac. There was a huge backyard that was shared with all the other townhouses in that one section. And there was a giant tree right outside of their balcony. Anyone who lived there had to cross by the tree to get into the townhouse complex. Anyway, in the summer, because it was quite hot, she and her sister, who was 11 at the time, would sleep out on the balcony under the stars. They had a whole cozy sleeping bag arrangement out there. They did this almost every night until one night everything changed. I had what I thought was a dream. I saw these hands come up on the balcony, and the balcony was on the second story, and it kind of pulled itself up. It was this little girl, but where the eyes were supposed to be, there was nothing. It was like these black holes. And I just remember feeling afraid. Things went blank, and her next memory was her words snapping out of it and waking her sister up. She told her that a bug had freaked her out and that we probably should go inside. She never slept on the balcony again after that. It was so unsettling to her. She also never told her sister why, thinking that it was a bad dream and her sister may think she was silly. 2 months later, Lakeisha was outside with some neighbor kids, hanging out by the tree. Her second older sister approached them and told them they should stay away from the tree. She proceeded to tell them what a neighbor told her. Apparently, one of the neighbors in the complex had arrived home between 10 and 11 p.m. and were walking past the tree when they noticed a little girl playing on it. He found this to be quite odd. He walked up to her, asking her where her parents were and telling her she should probably go home since it was late and dark. She did not respond to him, so he went up to her and touched her shoulder. When she turned around to face him, he noticed that this little girl had no eyes. Where her eyes were supposed to be were just black pits. Frightened, he ran home. The little girl, or whatever it was, chased him all the way back to his house. He was terrified by what he saw and told neighbors to keep their kids away from the tree. He moved shortly after. Lakeisha had not told anyone of her bizarre experience, so this shocked her. Even the description matched exactly what she had seen. What were the chances of another person seeing the same thing she saw? She no longer believes what she had was a dream, but rather something did really happen. I remember feeling so afraid, she recalled. She sensed there was something truly sinister about the entity, and she still gets spooked thinking about it to this day. Don't put your phone number out. Don't put your phone number out, Melanie. Do you have Facebook? Larry Lindman, thank you so much, my brother. Please, whatever you do not put your phone number out. Not that I don't trust everybody here, but just please don't. Phoenix Star, how are you? Do you have Facebook, though? That's the next step we can take. We do spend a lot of time together, Melinda. That's right, Jim Bob. No personal info and no nipple pinching. I haven't seen Andy Davis in a while, actually. Andy Davis or Sumner. Is Shackleneck here tonight? I haven't seen Andy in a couple weeks either. I haven't seen Shackleneck either. Got to do the old ball roll. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't trust anybody. Yeah. If you have Facebook, I'm the one Jeff Nadalny on Facebook. You can get me there. I'm not playing with it. I'm just fucking scratching, okay? They're a little sweaty tonight. Not anymore. All right, let me think about this, okay? We'll think about this and I'll figure it out, okay? Just do not put your phone number out, please. I'm telling this experience secondhand on behalf of a person who experienced it. I was told this experience in 2012, and it has always stuck with me. Now that I have recently discovered that YouTube is a thing to share, and you guys really do care, I want to share this experience with others. The gentleman who imparted this experience to me did so after a lengthy evening of enjoying beers at a fire pit in the backyard at his longtime home of Redding, California. Redding, California is where Mount Shasta is. Mount Shasta is pretty close to Redding. He recounted the time when he was a teenager living in a nearby town called Red Bluff. He had a girlfriend who lived within walking distance of his house, and he used to sneak out and head to her house in the middle of the night. He recalled how the road he would walk to her place spanned a rural distance before reaching her neighborhood. On one occasion, he was making his way back home early in the morning after visiting his girlfriend. What was he doing so long at his girlfriend's house? It was still much nighttime, but he was walking around the road alone. At this particular section, the road passed through a dark, long section of rural span only to be momentarily lit by the infrequently passing cars. It was dark quiet as he walked when he noticed the sound of what must have been footsteps behind him. He was immediately uncomfortable. It was not uncommon for drugged derelicts to be wandering at this time of the night. These would be characters you would certainly not want anything to do with at this time of night, as this location. He increased his pace, yet the footsteps seemed to remain just as assuredly behind him as before. His discomfort began to elevate in panic. Suddenly, a car was heading toward him on the desolate road. He knew as the headlights passed, he would have a chance to see who was following him. The moment came, and he turned to see what this crackhead wandering in the night might look like. But what he saw was nothing of the sort. Humanoid, he explained to me what he could only describe as it looking like a large Great Dane walking upright on its hind legs. I believe he did say it looked like the creature had a snout. He said the skin looked gray, pale, and hairless, and it was very skinny to the point where you could see its skeletal structure. The most memorable detail he kept recalling through that was the way in which its rib cage protruded, just like a Great Dane's would. The rest of the experience is short. What he saw terrified him, and he started sprinting. He did not stop until he reached the nearest lit-up area he could find, which was a random parking lot. He stood there terrified until the sun finally came up, walking the rest of the way home, and never went down the road again at night. No more late booty calls for him. Is Jeff wearing a bunny hug? What's a bunny hug? What's a bunny hug? Barry Allen, that's actually an older experience. Randall Kennedy, thank you so much. That's an older experience. Randall Kennedy, thank you again. Holy shit. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed thanking you the first time. Ooh, a cup of coffee. I like coffee. Make me some coffee, 420. I did a Shadow Man experience at the beginning of the live stream, Jim Bob. Sorry, buddy. What time is it? All right. Kakalina, how are you? Drive safe, please. Ooh, cappuccino. I'm a latte person myself. I'm a latte person. I like my lattes dry. It's so nice to chat with adults. Yes, it is, Debbie Bright. Yes, it is. I've seen them. Not fun. I bet you it's not fun. Jeff is fancy smancy. I actually found out that you can have lattes dry, which are fucking great. The froth. Ooh. Americanos are good too. My favorite drink, my favorite coffee drink is the cortada, which it's like a triple shot of espresso. It's Rochetto with milk. I take one shot of it and I'm like, shit is good. I'm back home. Drove up to Georgia to Kentucky, then back again for a random road trip. Damn! Kitty Wolferus, thank you so much. What's a booty call? She says. It's where he goes to see his girlfriend at night. It was nighttime and I was towing a vehicle, no brake lights whatsoever. Very scary. Absolutely. Ooh, an American with 6 espresso shots. I love Starbucks. Starbucks is my shit, actually. And I only go to Starbucks because there's... Should I say this? I'm not going to say it. All right. I go to Starbucks because there's this really pretty girl that works there. And she gives me deals on my coffee. So, like, I get a triple shot of espresso and a pistachio latte, and I only pay $4. I wish there was a hookup. I really do. She is so hot. Holy shit. All right. Now I'm fucking embarrassed. Oh, God. What if she's watching my show right now with her boyfriend? Oh, she got a boyfriend, too. Oh, fuck. What can you do? Fuck it. Fuck it. This happened a couple years ago, March 24th. Oh, that's my dad's birthday. This happened a couple years ago, March 24th, 2022. I was 16. No, she's not married. She's not married. She's got a boyfriend. All right. So this happened a couple years ago. Why do I know that? That's fucked up. So this happened a couple years ago, but she smiles at me too. Maybe she likes me. Now we're getting weird, guys. This happened a couple years ago, March 24th, 2022. I was 16 and I had just gotten my license. My friend's family were going on a day trip to the beach, Pacific City, Oregon. And a few of our friends decided, since I had just gotten my license and a new car, we should load up in my old 300Z, take the T-tops off, and go for a nice trip to the coast. All was going well, other than the discomfort of the 4 guys crammed in the small coupe on a 2-hour drive. We eventually made it to the coast for a good day. After we had packed up our things and started to head home, my friend suggested we take a road he knew. Nestucca Access Road, for anyone familiar with Tillamook Forest, back home instead of the main highway. It would take about an extra 45 to 60 minutes, but he said it was pretty and would be a nice change of scenery, so I obliged. The sun was setting, and in the thick forest, it got dark quick, and before we knew it, there was no cell service, no houses, and absolutely no cars, which is pretty typical for the mountain ranges between the Oregon coast and Portland metro area. So it wasn't anything I was worried about. After about more than 10 miles, I saw a green SUV, either a Dodge Durango or a Ford Escape early 2000s, hauling a fifth wheel, crashed off the side of the road. Being that no one was around, I decided we should pull over and see if everyone was okay and offer any help we could. It was probably 8 to 10 feet off the road on a slope, only caught by trees it had hit, and the fifth wheel was absolutely trashed. Both of the side walls were caved in, and the contents of the RV spread all along the side and the drop-off. The SUV was filled with clothes and food wrappers. Almost all the windows were shattered, and there was definitely pretty significant blood stains on what was left of the driver's side door glass and windshield, but didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary for how bad the crash was. There was no one in or near the car, and the truck had stopped by us, and we told him we didn't see anyone. And a truck had stopped by us, and we told him we didn't see anyone, and that we would just be on our way. So he kept driving, and shortly after, we started back on our journey. We had to go pretty slow as the condition of the road was getting worse and worse, with massive potholes and cracks in the road, definitely not intended for lower cars. I'd say about 3 or 5 miles after the crash site, there was a pretty sharp right turn with a pullover area on the apex of the turn. As my dim headlights lit up the trees beyond the pull-off, I saw what looked like a pale man with saggy skin. From what I could tell, was fully naked, but was sort of behind some tall grass or shrubs, so could really only see the bottom of his stomach. It had no hair and was kind of scrunched over, like how you would imagine an old man hunched over, just staring at my car. It did not have any prominent features, but the biggest part I remember was its eyes reflecting my headlights, bright like cat eyes, and with its whole body turned to keep looking at the car as we drove by. I didn't know what to do or what to think. Clint, thank you so much, buddy. And my friends were in the car. They all were staring behind us and claiming that it was kind of leaned out of the shrubs watching us drive away. We were all freaked out and discussing what we had seen, whether we thought it was a tweaker that had crashed his car and just walked off, or if it was some sort of paranormal creature. I kind of played it off as the first option, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like something you would see in a bad liminal space. No eyebrows, no hair, pale, white, saggy skin, like when a person loses hundreds of pounds in a small amount of time, except it was saggy on its cheeks and neck and arms, etc., but seemed scrawny and frail. We sped home, and I kind of just told people the story when the subject of paranormal experiences pop up. Pop up. On July 2023, my at the time girlfriend's brother and I were pretty close. His friends and I were driving up some trails on Dixie Mountain talking ghost stories and such when I told him this experience. Her brother's friend said he had seen the same crash and showed me a picture of the same SUV I saw, but he said he did not see anything creepy. I don't know what I saw or what happened, but it definitely scared me and my friends, and I've never been back on that road since. Maybe someone else has seen something similar, or actually this experience in the Oregon wilderness. I hadn't thought about posting my experience with you guys until today when my girlfriend and I were reading a book on cryptozoology and mythology creatures. Anyway, thanks for reading this. I apologize for my poor spelling skills. Jim Bob, thank you so much. I don't drink, but I appreciate the $5. Whose birthday is it today? What's up, Yvette? How are you? Blackie the dog, what's going on? Whose birthday is today? John, Johnny John, John. It's your birthday, AAA too? Well, happy birthday, AAA too. It's not my fault, Storm in Alaska. I apologize. Happy birthday to Johnny. Happy birthday to Johnny. Happy birthday to Johnny. Happy birthday to you. Johnny. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're here on your birthday. Triple A2. Triple A2. I don't control the ads. Once again, I can't control them. So there's no sense of telling me about it. There's nothing I can do about it. I apologize. That's about all you're going to get from me. So eat it. No, I'm just kidding. Patrice, thank you so much. I don't know why YouTube fucking puts ads in live streams anyway. They make enough money. But Google owns YouTube, and Google is owned by Alphabet. Interesting. Is it your birthday too, Susan? Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Susan. Happy birthday to you. Oh. Wait, is it Sumner's birthday? Fucking Sumner. Is it his birthday, that old fart? All right. This one I'm taking really seriously because these are my favorite experiences. This account occurred during the heightened United States activity in the country. While their experiences were unsettling, they were part of a larger pattern of foreign servicemen encountering large humanoid anomalies. I was in an FMV analysis from 2012 to 2013. We were doing pre-op in northeast Afghanistan, searching for patterns of life on damn near every warm body we saw. We watched to see if we could ID any weapons. After 20 minutes, what we thought were two dudes huddled together under a blanket stood up. This guy made the rest of the dudes look like children in terms of height. He stood up and walked over to a mud hut that he had to bend way over to get into. I kid you not, this guy was at least 9 feet in height. While stationed in Kandahar province, the United States infantry team leader was tasked with overseeing a village suspected of being a hotspot for IEDs. The mission itself was standard to observe and report and engage if necessary. However, this assignment would be far from routine. I was deployed as an infantry team leader in the Kandahar province of Afghanistan in 2008 to 2009. One night, we sat in an observation patrol to overlook the village that we suspected IEDs were coming out of. Due to a successful IED recovery a few weeks prior, my lieutenant gave me a new thermal imaging system called Recon 3. I started to look across the valley, and that led me to look across along the spur we were sitting on, and I saw a very large heat signature at the top of one of these false peaks. I did everything I could do to get as clear of an image as I could, suspecting that it was a group of Afghani huddled together around the light, as they tend to do in the mountains. All of a sudden, the heat signature stood up, being one big thing. The trees in that area grew to be about 10 to 12 feet in height. This thing was at least as tall, if not taller, than the largest tree that surrounded the area. It started taking steps parallel to my position and was covering the ground quickly with ease. Its stride was slow and relaxed, yet it moved with incredible speed and led me to believe that this creature was gigantic. It very quickly traversed the landscape, and I did lose sight of it along a neighboring spur. I did not believe what I saw initially, assuming I had imagined it. I had never seen anything like this in my life. Many soldiers have reported that they were aware of other reports from foreigners in Afghanistan describing encounters with redhead giants, including the infamous Giant of Kandahar account. On one particular U.S. commander mentions that local Afghan tradition of men dyeing their hair and the hair of their goats bright orange was a practice he initially dismissed as a cultural oddity. However, he later began to believe it was some kind of ritual rooted in the worship of these giant ancient beings. Another similar anomaly was reported in northern Afghanistan, this time captured through the lens of a Reaper drone. I was in northern part of the country scanning around doing my thing, and I look at stuff. I found a super small mud hut, which is where I saw the giants. There were 3, maybe even 4 meters tall. There's a ruler tool that tells you how to widen your cross areas, and the people were as tall as the crosshair was wide. A few mud huts were extremely rudimentary, like it was on a mound of some holes for a door and windows. They didn't do anything crazy, just normal people things, tending to their fire, other chores. I wish I could say they did something exciting, but really just moped around their small clearing. There were a few goats tied up in a fire that one person was tending to. It's hard to tell the details, but they seem to be wearing a rugged clothing. I would guess it was similar to Afghan traditional wear. They seemed to be heavily cloaked. The only interesting thing was their size. The goats looked like cats to these people. That's how large they were. This was all in infrared at night, so they showed up as black humanoid heat signatures. I wish I could have used the daytime camera. I always wondered if they had red hair. I only monitored them for like 10 minutes before we were too far away to see. Here's another account. I was an intel officer in the Australian Army at the time. I was deployed to the Yerzgan province. I was on PK, what you Yanks would call security or sentry. In the early hours one morning, I was scanning across the valley with thermal imaging, looking for threats. I saw a large human-like figure that looked different from the normal because it didn't have the usual clothes the Afghan would wear. It looked like a person, but lankier. I walked behind a few compounds, and I could see it from the chest up. This is when I really noticed its size. I thought it was at least 600 meters away, but when I did a more detailed scan, as it was also unusual to see an individual at this time of night, I realized it was further away, so I adjusted to get the range and was shocked that it was 1,800 meters away. It wasn't in any hurry, and I followed it for 5 minutes before it went out of my field of view. It was just walking. It kept looking back, especially near the compound. I have no idea what it was, but I would have been at least 4 meters tall. I don't know anyone else who saw anything in this area, and I have never shared my experiences with anyone all of these years. All right, it's time. It's time. Five rings. What's up, buddy? All right, this is Earl's experience. This is Earl's story. Earl is always the guy who gets it from the lot lizard, which is usually Lizzo, but not tonight, my friends. Not tonight. Here we go. Earl, a man whose beard held more crumbs than wisdom, squinted at the flickering neon sign, Bubba's Belly Buster Bonanza. It sputtered, half the letters dead, bathing the Texas truck stop in an unsettling purple glow. Earl needed coffee strong enough to jumpstart a dead longhorn and maybe a questionable burrito. He'd been hauling a load of rubber chickens from Albuquerque to Dallas for the past 17 hours, and his brain felt like one of them, squishy and easy to manipulate. He lumbered inside. The bell above the door chimed with a mournful clang that echoed the emptiness within. The only other occupant was a woman perched on a stool at the counter, her back to him. She was substantial. Earl had seen his fair share of ladies of the night in his time, but this one looked like she could bench press a Peterbilt. He slided up to the counter, the formica sticky beneath his elbows. "Morning," he grunted to the woman, who did not react. A voice gravelly as a Texas back road rumbled from behind the counter. "What can I get you, Earl?" Bubba himself emerged, a man whose stomach preceded him like a herald. "Just a black coffee, Bubba, and maybe some chili, if it's still edible." Bubba chuckled, the sound like rocks gargling. "Edible is a strong word, Earl. Let's just say it'll pass through you. Now that there's lady been waiting on you. Seems like she's been asking about you all night." Earl frowned. He hadn't seen this truck stop in years. Who's been asking for him? He turned to the woman. "Excuse me, ma'am. Bubba says you're looking for me." She slowly swiveled the stool, and Earl nearly choked on his own spit. Her face was beautiful, almost unnatural so, with these high cheekbones, piercing blue eyes that seemed to glow in a dim light. But her teeth, they were a bit too long, a bit too sharp, and they glinted when she smiled. A smile that didn't quite reach those unnerving eyes. "Earl," she purred, her voice hypnotic. "I've been waiting for you. They call me Megan the Clydesdale." Earl's brain short-circuited. "Megan the Clydesdale? That's a new one. Nice to meet you, Megan, I guess. Can I help you with something?" "Oh, you can help me. Plenty, sugar." She leaned closer, and Earl could smell something earthy and metallic, like a graveyard after a rainstorm. "I hear you've been hauling, shall we say, delicious cargo." Earl's confusion deepened. "Rubber chickens? You want rubber chickens?" Megan's smile widened, revealing even more of those unnerving teeth. "Oh, Earl, you sweet, clueless trucker. I'm not talking about the rubber chickens." She reached out, a hand, long-fingered and unnaturally pale, towards his neck. That's when Earl noticed the shadows. They were all wrong. Too long, too sharp, stretching out behind Megan like black wings. And then he saw the way Bubba was staring at him. His eyes wide in terror, silently mouthing the words, "Get out." Suddenly everything clicked. The deserted truck stop, the unnatural beauty, the metallic scent, the name like Megan the Clydesdale. It was a joke, a sick joke. This wasn't just a prostitute. This was a vampire prostitute. a legend whispered among truckers on the lonely highways, a creature of the night who preyed on unsuspecting drivers. Earl surprisingly didn't panic. Decades of hauling questionable cargo and dealing with even more questionable people had prepared him for this moment. He just needed a plan, and fast. Well, now, Megan, he said, his voice surprisingly steadied. I'm flattered. I truly am. But a girl like you deserves better than a tired old trucker like me. Tell you what, how about I buy you a cup of Bubba's finest swill on the house, of course. He winked at Bubba, who looked like he was about to faint. Bubba, hit us up with 2 coffees strong enough to raise the dead. Bubba, spurred into action by sheer terror, poured 2 cups of coffee, his hand shaking violently. That some of the sloshed over onto the counter. He slid them over to Earl, who took one and handed it to Megan. Here you go, sweetheart. Drink up. Megan hesitated. Her eyes narrowed. I don't drink coffee, Earl. Oh, come on, Earl said, forcing a grin. It's an acquired taste. Besides, a little caffeine never hurt anyone. Unless, of course, you're allergic to, daylight. Megan's smile vanished. Earl knew he had to be quick. He grabbed the other cup of coffee and, with a yell, and surprisingly even himself, threw it in her face. The reaction was immediate to the spectacle. The reaction was immediate and spectacular. Megan shrieked, a sound that shattered the already fragile fluorescent lights above. Her skin began to blister and smoke where the coffee touched it. She recoiled, hissing, and Earl now saw his chance. He grabbed a handful of chili from the pot on the counter, Bubba's edible chili, and flung it at her. The chili splattered across her face and chest, and she began to scream again, even louder this time. Chili is garlic's slightly less offensive cousin, Earl yelled, scrambling backward toward the door. And you, Megan the Clydesdale, are about to get the runs. He didn't stick around to see what happened next. He bolted out that door, the taste of cheap coffee and desperation clinging to his tongue. He jumped into his truck, started the engine, and sped away, leaving Bubba's belly buster bonanza and Megan the vampire prostitute in his rear view. As he drove, Earl couldn't help but chuckle. He'd faced down a blood-sucking monster with a bad coffee and questionable chili. He was pretty sure he was going to be in the Truckers' Hall of Fame. He patted his beard, now liberally sprinkled with chili flakes. It was going to be a long ride to Dallas, but at least he had a good story to tell. And maybe, just maybe, he earned a few extra rubber chicken wings at his next stop. After all, surviving Megan the Clydesdale deserved some kind of reward. Andy Davis, what's up, buddy? Earl does need danger pay. Are you all right, Andy Davis? Need a friend? Send me an email, brother. Megan is built like a horse. You like that one too. I was wondering if anyone was going to catch that. After the live, I will. How about that, Andy? Is that all right? All right. Andy, you've had a tough year so far, brother. You've had a really tough year. I'm glad you're here with us. This happened a long time ago and was one of my first encounters that I've ever had. I was 11 years old staying at my grandmother's on the reservation. I'm Native American, Cree. And I was only supposed to be there for a day, but then it started to storm badly. It lasted nearly 4 days. To this day, one of the worst storms we've ever had. The power was out for maybe 3 days, so no lights, no stove, nothing. The layout of my grandmother's house is pretty important. I don't think you would even call it a house, it's more like a trailer. It must have been the third night my cousin, my aunt, and I were all sleeping in the living room. And where I was sleeping, you could see through the small kitchen window. I was awoken by the sound of something talking in a strange voice. At the time, I couldn't think of what it reminded me of, but now, after thinking about it for years, it sounded like a goat trying to speak English. I still don't know what it was trying to say, but I did hear, "Hey, boys, hey." I just got chills typing that. At first, I thought it was just my cousin being annoying, but then I noticed there was a big figure standing outside of the kitchen window that had its fists against the glass. And then I noticed it was banging on the window, not hard enough to make a ton of noise, though. I saw the outline of horns, similar to big horned goats. The fur covered its body, from what I could see, and then the lighting flashed, and I saw its face. Very hard to describe, but it looked like what you'd imagine a Goatman to look like. Maybe a bit more on the goat side. Red eyes, but not glowing. It looked old and rough. Its fur was mostly gray and brown. The window it was about was by the window it was by. It was about 6 feet above ground, so I would say this thing was at least 7.5 feet in height. Throughout the night, it stayed in that place, but the banging turned to scratching, and the attempts to speak turned to growls and shouting. Lightning flashed a few times more, and every time I could see the anger in its face growing more and more. I eventually woke up my cousin crying. She came to lay with me until I fell asleep. I had a hard time falling asleep because every time I closed my eyes, I would see those eyes looking back at me. And when I did finally fall asleep, I had a nightmare involving the goat man. In my dream, I watched him walk over to our neighbors and brutally murder them, come back with a decapitated head and swing it around in my face. He was taunting me, but why, I still don't know. What's weird about this is my cousin said that she couldn't see it, but she could hear it, the growling, scratching, everything. We talked about it often. I remember I remember at one point moving to another room and looking outside of the window and seeing its full body, which is not like a minotaur, but a satyr. I noticed it noticed me and I noticed it, and I ran back to the living room. I forgot to mention that the morning after we checked outside for evidence and we found two huge footprints, or hoof prints, going from window to window and scratch marks on the walls. The prints were probably the size of two open hands. Now I've read countless stories, but none come close to tonight. It was the scariest encounter I've ever had to this day, and I've seen many things. Cree, shapeshifter. I believe Cree, Oklahoma, maybe. Probably a shapeshifter, my guess. What's up, Tina Marie? DL Hemingway, how are you? Sorry I missed that. Ugh. Yeah, I want to go to West Virginia. West Virginia looks awesome. I close out RV window blinds here at Lake Whitcourt Engineers Campground. I try not to see what's out there. Most definitely. Just question. Paranormal Dogman. Okay, video. I believe Victor not the baby. It was supposed to be a hybrid. So I can't remember if you said it was. My heart hurt. Victor did not send me that picture. Victor showed me a picture of the video. Victor showed me a picture of a baby Dogman, but that hybrid picture was sent to me by someone else. They didn't know what it was. Yeah, it's fucking creepy. And it was sad because to me, I don't know. I tried to reverse Google search. Like I took a picture of the baby itself and tried to reverse Google search it, and nothing came up. So like it's sad. It is sad because its hand is human-like on one side, and the other hand is almost reptilian, but its face looks kind of canine. It's a sad. I think it was created at like a military lab, government lab, deep underground military base, something. It's grotesque if that's what they're doing. And obviously we've heard many stories of what goes on in places like Nightmare Hall, so it is grotesque and disgusting. Jim Bob, no, I don't. I do hope nobody like that ever reaches out to me. There probably will never be another Victor. It did. I miss him terribly. But there was a lot of crazy shit that occurred. No, he did not pass naturally. He was poisoned. It was definitely sad. No, he wasn't poisoned at the hospital. He went to the hospital after he was poisoned. No, no. I don't think he knew how it happened. You know that for a fact. I don't know what that means, Mr. Rollins. Close to 2 years ago now. Close to 2 years ago, Brian. I think it is. I think it is delirium because if you think about if you think about what happens to people, like okay, here, um, Victor mysteriously was poisoned and died shortly thereafter. He didn't make it 6 months after he was poisoned. He thought he was getting better and then went rapidly downhill. The last conversation I ever had with him, he was in the hospital. And it was fucking weird too, because the nurse came in. The nurse came in to ask him about what he wanted for dinner. You know how like the nurse or the food people come in. But when he was taught, he was like, I heard the lady's voice ask if he wanted this, this, and that, or this, and that. And he's literally talking about government werewolf program to me and he's in a military hospital at this point. So I was like, holy shit, dude, you better shut up. I didn't say that, but like, I was like, right to the very end, he was still talking about it. Scott Carpenter mysteriously dies of a brain aneurysm. Like, I guess he was fine the day before. I know he had done a live stream like 2 days before he passed away. Claudia Ackley, a dear friend of mine who was suing the state of California just for the fact of, hey, admit these things are real. I talked to her 2 weeks before she passed away. She was doing all right. You know, she had some health issues, but nothing major. Like, um, I think that people that poke the bear eventually get silenced. That's what I really do believe. I think that people that poke the bear get silenced. I don't. I mean, the backpack cam was his thing. You know, I mean, I don't think that's revolutionary. I think he caught an amazing couple of videos. But there's other people who have done it. He was just a good guy, you know, an interesting person. There's other people that have passed too. I mean, there's one person that passed that some people really did like. Lucas, what's up? That really did like, but didn't know him. They only knew him from YouTube. Not Scott Carpenter. I'm not talking about Scott Carpenter, but there's another researcher who passed of cancer that people were like really thought he was like some super nice person, but he was not. He was really a fucking jerk actually, and it's sad that he passed, but like that's one thing. Like I wondered if that guy had not poked the bear and was such a dick about it, to mean to people in the community too, if he'd still be alive. Then there was that guy who, I forget the guy who had a Sasquatch channel, and he was in a car accident, mysterious car accident. I forget his name, but he was a young guy. He had reached out to me like a month before he passed away. I forget his name. He had like a smaller channel. We had about the same amount of subscribers at the time that he died. But he was a Bigfoot. Yes. Kerry Arnold. Yes, thank you. He was really fucking cool too. He had reached out to me like a month before he passed away. We had talked once or twice. And I found it weird that the car accident, this is weird because like you think about it, and it's like all these people in this fucking community just randomly pass away. Like it's just weird. Dude from Texas, he died. He had an illness. He had a real illness, Patrice. That's a whole different thing. He was sick. He was sick. He was not like, and when I say community, I mean like research community. He was sick. But that was fucking sad too, because he was in our live stream. He was in the live stream, so that was weird, dude. Like he was in the live stream Saturday, so it'd be like someone in our live stream now, and then the next day he's dead, and I'm like, holy shit. Nothing happened to Matt Squatch. I don't think anything happened to Matt Squatch. No, it was what's his name? One day it'll happen to me. That's what Belle worries about. Belle worries about that. And Abby. They both worry about that happening to me. That's who I was talking about, Lucas, the guy that was an asshole. He actually, that guy, the guy that Lucas just mentioned, was the guy that pushed Kirk Stokes out of the community. He pushed him, like he was not a very nice person on the outside. Kyle 83, thank you so much. Every day, Jim Bob, every day, and many of them. Yes, AAA2. Kirk Stokes, the guy that I interviewed, that really awesome video I have of the Dogman's head, he was pushed out of this community because of that guy. Yeah, well, you only knew him from a YouTube channel, Lucas. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Kirk is a wicked nice guy. Kirk is fucking awesome, though. Victor, I talk to his son periodically. I wish he had been nicer, Lucas, because you know what I mean? Like, he had a lot to offer. He did, like, he did a lot of research, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just okay. So when Larry Lindman asked me that question at the beginning of the night, he said, what, what has this community or something about the community? And I said, what has bettered this community or something like that? And I said, how researchers and how this whole thing is now, because we're all like, okay, so like someone says Dogman is a demon, right? And then another guy says, no, Dogman is natural. And then back then it was, if demon Dogman was the thing of the month and everybody agreed, and someone said, no, it's natural, he would be fucking targeted. Now it's not like that, because now, like, we all are like, well, we don't know, but they could be both. Or, like, it's better now, I think, because there isn't bullying. And I think the people that are bullies are seen as bullies. You know what I mean? They're like, and there's less of them now. And that's why it's better now. Exactly. Exactly. All of the above. I miss Claudia. I miss Claudia a lot. I fucking loved Claudia. I talked to her like a lot. I've often thought about finishing her work, like her legal battle. Right on, Mr. Rollins. All right. Last lot lizard story of the night. We'll end it with a funny story because we kind of went deep there. Um, Claudia, she she died of complications. There was multiple complications that was really not put out like in the news, like in her um, obituary and stuff. And I thought about asking her husband, like, but I thought that would kind of be rude. Um, I don't know. All I know is she was fucking a beautiful person. Like, I loved her. All right, here we go. Last lot lizard story of the night to end it. No, I cannot relay where he's buried, Janice. His family needs like their own closure and everything else. Like, they don't. His son actually wishes he never reached out to me. All right. The fluorescent lights of the Big Bear truck stop just outside of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, hummed a monotonous tune, a soundtrack to the loneliest stretching out of the Trans-Canadian Highway. Lizzo, affectionately, or maybe not so affectionately, known as Lizzo the Lot Lizard Queen, leaned against a chip Formica countertop, a half-eaten poontang congealed beside her. Lizzo was not your typical lot lizard. For one, she was, as truckers delicately put it, built for comfort, not speed. She was glorious, unapologetically chubby, a human marshmallow wrapped in a leopard print bodysuit, and a generous helping of self confidence. And then there was a whole lot of shape shifting. It wasn't exactly a marketable skill in the world of truck stop prostitution, but it added a certain spice to her evenings. Finally, there was her flagellance. Tonight's business was slow. The wind howled like a hungry coyote, and the only trucker brave enough to venture inside the wiry fellow named Earl, poor fucking Earl, sporting a Keep On Truckin' t-shirt and a suspicious cough. Lizzo straightened up, puffed out her chest, which, to be fair, didn't require much effort, and shade towards Earl. Well, hello there, handsome, she purred, her voice thick with honey and a hint of desperation. Rough night on the road? Earl coughed again, his eyes scanning Lizzo up and down. He seemed more interested in the microwave burrito behind her. Just need a coffee, ma'am, he croaked. Gotta get to Winnipeg by morning. Lizzo wasn't one to give up easily. Winnipeg? That's a long haul. Why don't you let Lizzo help you unwind a little bit? I got skills you wouldn't believe. She winked, a gesture that somehow managed to be both alluring and slightly terrifying. Earl shifted uncomfortably. Skills, huh? Like what? Making microwave burrito? Lizzo huffed, a slight tremor running through her ample frame. It was shape-shifting time. She focused, channeling her inner, well, she wasn't exactly sure what inner animal she was channeling, but the result was always the same. A slightly off-kiltered, unsettling transformation. She started small. Her nose twitched, becoming a little more pointed, a little more reptilian. Her skin shimmered, taking on a faint greenish hue. She even managed to elongate her tongue a fraction. How about the skill of becoming your wildest fantasy, she rasped, her voice now carrying a strange hiss undertone. Earl stared, his eyes wide with something that wasn't quite lust, but definitely wasn't boredom anymore. What in tarnation? This was Lizzo's moment. She leaned in close, her reptilian breath tickling Earl's ear. Just imagine, she whispered, you and me out on the open road. And that's when it happened. A loud burp erupted from Lizzo's nether regions, shaking the very foundation of Big Bear's truck stop. It was a fart of biblical proportions, a symphony of methane and regret. Earl recoiled as if struck with lightning. His eyes watered. He sputtered, Good Lord, woman, what did you eat? Lizzo, mortified, reverted back to her normal chubby leopard print-clad self. The green tint faded. The reptilian nose vanished, and the hissing voice returned to a honeyed drawl. Sorry, she mumbled, her face flushed. Sometimes the transformation gives me gas. Earl, however, was not in a forgiving mood. He grabbed his coffee, practically ran to his truck, and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving a trail of dust and bewilderment. Lizzo sighed, her shoulders slumped. This is becoming a regular occurrence. The shape-shifting was fun, a little party trick to spice up the night, but the side effects were unfortunate. The truckers either ran screaming, convinced she was some kind of cryptid, or they stuck around long enough to experience the dreaded Lizzo lizard flagellance, which was, without exception, a deal breaker. Dejected, she waddled back to the counter and plopped down next to the congealed poontang. Rough night, Lizzo? Brenda, the truck stop waitress, asked. Her voice tingled with amusement. Brenda had seen it all at the Big Bear, but Lizzo's antics were in a league of their own. You have no idea, Lizzo groaned. poking listlessly at the cheese curd. I think I'm cursed. A shape-shifting, farting prostitute. Who's going to want that? Brenda chuckled. Maybe you're not marketing yourself right, honey. Lizzo, the lot lizard queen. She'll change your life and maybe clear the room. Lizzo managed a weak smile. Maybe Brenda was right. Maybe she just needed to embrace her uniqueness after all. In a world of cookie cutter lot lizards, she was goddamn dinosaur. And well, dinosaurs probably farted too, right? Shook a deep breath, adjusting her leopard print bodysuit, and decided to try again. The night was still young, and somewhere out there on the endless expanse of the Trans-Canadian Highway was a trucker in a particular sense of with a particular sense of humor and an iron stomach, or maybe just a really good gas mask. Fucking Earl always gets the shit end of the stick. What's up, Erica? How are you? Claire, have a good night. Thank you. I love Earl. I'm going to have to make like a fucking shirt with Earl on it. What do you guys think Earl looks like anyway? When I write these, I think Earl's really tall. He's like 6'2" in my mind. He's like 6'2", probably a $130. Jersey Nightcat. Thank you, dearie. Victor was poisoned almost 2 years ago. What's up, Donovan? How are you? Cartoon, Greg. Peanut for Charlie Brown. Earl has a beer belly and warts. Fuck you, John Sumner. He's you, buddy. Randall Kennedy, thank you for all your blessings tonight, brother. Appreciate you. I'm doing well. Yeah, he definitely has mustard stains and maybe a mustache. He's got a mustache, I think. He's got a mustache with some really like Dahmer glasses. He's got fucking Dahmer glasses. I did a Nephilim story, Savage Lunatic. I did a whole fucking 3 pages of them. Good night, Tony Jones. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. I really am, Erica. You want to know what's crazy is my friend Sean Atwood, who has a YouTube channel too. He does true crime. He's really good. He's great. I fucking love Sean. But I ordered a shirt from Sean that has Bigfoot holding an alien's hand in November, and I still haven't got it. So I'm glad that you got yours soon. Fuck with me on the road. That's crazy. Looks like Peter Griffin. I've had Sean on my channel. I've interviewed Sean, and Sean's had me on his channel twice. We're good friends. Sean is amazing. I love Sean. He's actually someone I look up to. Like I look up to him literally because he's just truly amazing. Hi, baby. I like it when he does different things. He's a workaholic too. He works hard. He just had a baby too. Love you, baby. Good night. Yeah, like a young Clint Eastwood. Yeah, he's in England. He's not allowed in our country anymore. Sean's not allowed in our country anymore. If you ever want to watch a movie, Ziggy, you're I fucking love Ziggy. If you ever want to watch, if you ever want to know the story of Sean Atwood, watch The Ecstasy Kings. It's on Netflix, I think. But that's his story. He's in it. He talks about it. He talks about Wild Man and Wild Woman and everything. It's great. It's really awesome. He talks about how he went to war with freaking what's his name? I forget. Fucking my brain just shut off. Sammy the Bull Gravano. Imagine wanting to be killed by Sammy the Bull Gravano. Damn it. The Ecstasy King. He was the Ecstasy King. He was the king of ecstasy in the United States for years. No, in Arizona. He went to jail in Arizona. Under Joe Arpaio. Joe Arpaio. And he was a millionaire by like 19 or 20 from the stock market. Really, I got his book right here, one of his books. Ugh. This is the only book that's in my studio that's not cryptid related. Hard Time by Sean Atwood. And that's a picture of him like when he was in prison. Hopefully we can put him at 1,000,000 subs someday. I'd love to see him at 1,000,000 subs. He deserves it. He really does. He was cool. He's very cool. He's a very genuine person. He really is. He's an amazing soul. He really is. And he is a truth teller. This is part 3. I think this is part 3 of his book collection. What's it say? It says, Jeff, congrats on your YouTube success. An inspirational story. Your friend Sean. Why did they deport him from the U.S.? Because he was the ecstasy kingpin. Because he was the ecstasy kingpin of the United States. That's why he was fucking a madman. The movie's great. Actually, I told Dark Waters because Dark Waters just kind of changed his whole channel. He's not doing cryptid stuff anymore. He's going to like a political kind of thing. And I said, dude, I'll email Sean. You should talk with Sean. Is Pops in here? I didn't see Pops. Where's Pups? Hi, Pups. There she is. How are you tonight? Monster Quest. Just woke up. What's up, Chris? How are you? How are you, Liz? I think I'll squeak one story more in. We'll squeak one more in. How about that, guys? We'll end the night with this. I'm getting a little tired. I'm doing well, Liz. Thank you. All right. This is for all the people that stuck around till the very end. Little squeaker. We'll put the Grim Reaper hood up. This took place at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday night, 2015. Let me start the experience off like this. I'm an avid coyote hunter and used to absolutely love hunting them at night when they are most active. One afternoon, I decided I was going to take off and go hunting after the sun went down. I got home, loaded my gear, and hit the road. About an hour later, I pulled into a parking area for a state forestry that I'm going to hunt at. This particular place that I had chose, I've had luck in the past and knew of a den about a mile from the main trail. So I set off down the graveled path, unknowing of what I was about to encounter in a short period of time. My strategy is to walk 100 yards at a time, stop and blast a coyote locator call until I hear one respond. At the first set, nothing. Second set, nothing. However, on the third set, everything changed. The trail that I'm on makes a real sharp, almost hairpin turn to the right. And in the middle of that hairpin is a Civil War era cemetery with a dense pine thicket behind it and a very steep bottom across the trail in front. I have a habit of walking through the cemetery and touching the main headstone, almost as a sign of respect. As I'm walking up to the headstone, I hear a faint sound of something landing on the ground in the pine thicket. The weird thing was, I only heard one boom, as if a human or bipedal thing touched down. Usually animals such as bobcat, when they jump to the ground, it's the front paws first, then the rear. So boom, boom. Immediately I started to feel uneasy and wanted to leave. The only problem, whatever was in the pine thicket stood between me and the only way back to my truck. I started to notice the silence, like everything that was just making noise a minute ago was now gone. At this point in time, I noticed the unmistakable feeling of being watched. I immediately started to scan the pine thicket to see if I could see anything that would make this bizarre situation make sense. I scanned for what felt like hours until I finally noticed it. On the edge of the thicket, there was this thing, too tall to be a human, maybe 7 to 8 feet in height. I could only make out an outline, but it looked oh my God, I can't talk. Emaciated and deathly. My mind had to be playing tricks on me because this is the stuff you only read about and never encounter. My reality soon changed when this thing darted to the right and ran down into the bottom. This bottom is about 300 to 400 feet deep and very steep. But whatever that was got to the bottom of it in no time flat. The path to my truck was now clear, and I am trying to come up with a plan to make it. But as I would soon discover, the thing ran into the bottom for a better position to itself for an ambush from behind. I waited about 5 more minutes before I decided to move. I take one step forward and heard it. It was in the bottom directly below me, slowly working its way up the hill. I bolted straight across the trail through the cemetery and into the pine thicket toward the main road. I ran about 100 yards and stopped. The scariest part, when I stopped, it stopped. The entire time I was running, I could hear it running behind me and gaining. I always carry a pistol when I hunt, and it's always in my holster on my chest just in case. I decided the only way I was going to make it out of there alive is if I dump and run. Essentially, you fire in the direction of the threat until your mag is empty, and then run like hell. I had 3 mags in total, 51 bullets between me and certain death. I counted 1, 2, 3. Bang! I empty a mag and made a mad dash as far as I could, never hearing the thing behind me. I stopped after what felt like hours, reloaded, and readied for another barrage of bullets. About 15 seconds after stopping, I started to hear crashing, like a big animal was blasting through the trees running in my direction. Bang! Dumped and bolted. This time the plan was to run all the way to my truck, about a half a mile from my current position through the woods. This time while running, I could hear it getting closer and closer. I jumped behind a fallen log to reload one last time. The thing stopped, but I could hear it breathing. I could hear a low growl this thing had, like a dog or a coyote mixed with something from the pits of hell. Bang, bang, bang. The slide of my pistol locked back, and I was off. The truck is now in sight, 70 yards. I run faster than I ever have in my entire life. I made it. Finally, I jumped in, started my truck, and got the hell out of there. The entire time scanning the woods on either side and behind me. I never been back there since in the woods of Brown County, Indiana, at night alone, and I never probably ever will. What's up, Jordy? How are you, buddy? Nothing on blue. Nothing on blue. All right, guys. 2 hours and 42 minutes. I had a blast. I hope you guys had a good night. Sharp Rust, thank you very much, Sharp Rust. Kimberly Flores, have a good night. Ugh. Sorry, I can't go any longer, pups. I'm totally exhausted. I honestly cannot wait to just crawl in bed and sleep now. I'm so tired. Oh, DB Mac, have a good night. I love you, buddy. 420, be safe. Liz, thank you. Terry, how are you? All right, guys. I will see you next week. Thank you for hanging out with me. And we'll have another great week next week, or a great night next week. All right. Have a good night, guys. Thank you again. Sully! Good night, buddy. Night, Erica. Night, puppies. Sonia, have a good night. AB Dark Moon, have a good night.